Thanks, Colleen. Welcome to session 2 of the Parent Guide to Helping Your Child Change Their Substance Use. Today's topic is helping with self-care. We'll be discussing how making yourself a priority makes you a better helper for helping out your child when they're using substances. The session today will last approximately 45 minutes, so we will have about 10 minutes at the end of the session to answer any questions you might have. Please feel free to use the question and answer box on your screen to enter your questions throughout the presentation. We will also be providing frequent reminders for you to enter questions. Smart Choices is our adolescent substance use program at CCP, and we believe in supporting both adolescents and parents when it comes to substance use. We understand that parents are uniquely qualified to help their children with substance use, and there are positive ways that you can have an influence on your child. The Parent Series supports our overall goal of preventing the lifelong consequences of substance use in children and adolescents. We want to welcome anyone that's on the call today, whether you are in a traditional parent role or just in a different caregiver role. We are happy that you're here, and you're welcome to be here. We hope to provide you with some new tools for the often complex problem of substance use. So some of those tools are understanding why your child's using, taking care of yourself throughout the process, talking to your child and developing some new communication strategies, and how to react when your child is using and not using. And we can't express enough the importance of practicing these skills so that you become more comfortable with them over time. Like Colleen said, my name is Shannon, and I am a registered nurse, board certified in psychiatric mental health nursing, and I'm the nurse coordinator for our Smart Choices program. My background is working with people with co-occurring disorders, so that means substance use and a mental health disorder. And I have training in family recovery, which is something that interested me after helping my own loved one with substance use. And I will let Callan introduce herself.
My name is Callan Weiser. I am the Smart Choices Care Coordinator for the adolescents in our program. My background is in crisis management, as well as family-based therapy, where I worked with children and families between the ages of 4 and 18 for both mental health and substance use.
And Dr. Schlesinger is not able to be on the call this evening, but she has been a huge part of putting this series together, and she's the medical director for our Smart Choices. And you heard from Colleen at the beginning. She is our program director, and she has helped us put the series together and is behind the scenes tonight running all of the technical things for us. So we have 2 more sessions coming up after tonight. The next one will be helping with words on Friday, August 7th from 12 to 1, and we'll talk about effective communication strategies during that. And then helping with actions is Tuesday, August 11th from 6 to 7. So we'll talk about how to give consistent consequences and how to reinforce more of the behaviors that you're hoping to see from your child. The information from all of our sessions comes from the Center for Motivation and Change Parent 20-minute guide, which is something that we ordered for all of the parents that registered, and we'll make that available at your child's CCP practice so that you can pick that up. They'll be available after the series ends, and we'll send out an email with information on how to pick that up. There's also a book called Beyond Addiction, and that expands on some of the topics from the 20-minute guide. So you may want to check out that book if you want to learn more about what we're presenting. And the website, centerformotivationandchange.com, also has a lot of information that the book and the workbook has, and also some other things like videos and a parent blog. So before I start talking about the importance of self-care, I want to acknowledge that self-care can be really hard for a lot of people to practice, especially parents. And there's a lot of good reasons why people avoid practicing self-care. For one, it takes a lot of effort physically, mentally, and emotionally to clear space in your life for yourself. And also, it sometimes brings up some feelings of shame or guilt. You may be thinking to yourself, if you're doing self-care, why am I indulging in this activity? I should be doing something to be helping my child. But the truth is, when you're doing self-care, you are helping your child because you're helping to build up your resiliency so that you can manage the stress of the situation. So part of it is understanding the stress that you're encountering and then coming up with ways to relieve that stress, and really being aware of your emotions throughout the process, and reaching out for support so that you're not isolated as a parent. And support has been shown to help in a lot of different aspects, and also managing any painful feelings of shame that you may have. So when your child is using, it can be a really stressful situation, and it takes up oftentimes a lot of your time and energy, which are really valuable assets for you. And like we talked about in session 1, you may have some worries that you didn't have before your child was using, such as concerns for their physical or mental health, or other concerns about areas that their substance use is impacting. And you could be frustrated too, and be asking yourself, why is my child doing this? And sometimes that can lead to some feelings of helplessness and not knowing where to start. And parents a lot of times will say, when my child is better, I'll start taking care of myself. So it's an understandable thing that a lot of parents say that, but it does cause some problems down the line for parents. And you risk burning out and not being able to help your child when they really need it the most. So anyone that's been on an airplane will probably remember being told about the oxygen masks before the flight takes off. And with self-care, we want you to think of it as a similar thing to that. So putting your own oxygen mask on first before you are able to help your child with theirs. So it really requires you to make yourself a priority, which is hard to put yourself in that position of being first, because as a parent, you're really used to always helping your child first. So you also have to start putting your life, it may have been on hold for a while, and taking your life back out of that emergency or panic mode you've been in for quite a while, which can be hard because once you're used to it, shifting back, it can be difficult. And remembering that you need certain things in your life just to be able to sustain yourself, like sleep, proper nutrition, socializing with people. And all of these things are important so that you're able to better help your child and be in a good position to help. And resiliency is how you roll with life, or how you bounce back from the different challenges that you face, and being able to adapt to different changes and situations, and also being flexible and creative in the way that you problem solve. And it's really important to have resilience when you're raising a teenager. Sometimes you can receive emotional hits from your child. So when they tell you that you're crazy during an argument, or they blame you for their use, that can really put you in a bad emotional spot, or sometimes you lash back, maybe in anger. So being able to bounce back from that is important. And sometimes the tension does increase when you're helping your child change, and so it's all the more reason to be able to handle your emotions so that you're able to be an effective helper for your child. So I like the phrase, change is not a sprint, it's a marathon. I think a lot of people hope that change occurs quickly, and I think that's natural, but it usually takes longer than just an overnight change. And really, a lot of the work in change comes in sustaining it over time. So as a parent, you want to be able to keep up your energy and your resilience so that you're able to help your child in the sometimes long change process. And also preparing for different things that you might encounter along the way. So thinking about some obstacles you and your child might hit during the marathon of change and being able to prepare for those. And also kind of thinking of it as a tactical thing, as a way of being able to be best prepared for helping. So I talked a lot about why self-care is important. And self-care is really the act of caring for your whole self, all aspects, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. And like I said a few times, strengthening your endurance and resiliency so you can handle the life events that are coming your way. And it's going to look different for different people. So it really depends on what your needs are and what will help you best. So your self-care will probably look very different than someone else's self-care. And that's a good thing, because that means it's individualized to your own needs. So these are just some examples of self-care and some common ones that I hear when talking about it that people participate in. So you may like several of these and want to do some of these for your self-care, or you might not like any of them. And it's okay to not like things that are on this list. You can definitely explore other options that are out there. There's probably thousands of different things that you can do as part of self-care, and you might have to try out a few to figure out what's best for you. But just trying different things and being open to the process is what's important. So in the 20-minute guide, there's a worksheet that helps you think through these different stressful situations in your life. And this one is encouraging you to identify areas in your life that need some attention, where a change would be helpful for you. So in the example, this person wants to find the time to read a good book. And then in the second step, you want to state why that change would help you. So for this person, it would help them take a break and feel less resentful about spending all their time worrying about their child. And then you want to think about your obstacles that you might encounter, like we talked about. And this person knows that they might get worried and maybe be too worried to sit and read and be distracted. And then you want to think about some ways that you can overcome those obstacles. So this person will take some deep breaths and remind themselves that it's okay to start small, give themselves permission to start small, and knowing that even if they read for only 15 minutes, that's still better than taking no break at all from the worrying. So I encourage you to put in any questions you have on the slides I just presented, and I will be checking the Q&A box while Callan takes over the next part.
So as a parent, you have probably heard the phrase, "We're only as happy as your unhappiest child." You wish this weren't true, but many parents feel this way. So instead of feeling the joy of watching your child grow up and succeed and accomplish everything they want in their life, you are now stuck with some of these very painful feelings of watching them struggle and deal with the consequences of using. And at times it can become so frustrating and stressful that you may feel like giving up. The important thing to remember when you start to feel this way is that these feelings are completely normal. And you're not the only ones feeling this. This is other parents are dealing with similar issues if their child is using as well. And two is, you weren't born knowing how to handle a child using substances. It's not something that's ingrained in anyone, and it's something that's really important to know that you can learn how to cope with this moving forward. And one big step of doing that is to learn how to manage your own emotions, because emotions can get very high when your child is using, and it's difficult to watch your child struggle. And within your households, there may be a lot more, fighting, yelling, screaming, people giving each other the silence treatment, crying, begging for change to happen. These are all very normal things that come with substance use in raising your child. Your task as a parent is to help manage your emotions so that the tensions don't continue to get high, and you can help influence your kids to make a much more positive change. And this is a very difficult skill to learn. So it's really important that you remember to be kind to yourself. You know, this is something that's definitely going to take practice, like Shannon said in the very beginning, and it's not always going to go smoothly every time you try. But the important thing is to remember to always keep trying. So natural emotions are things that come easily to pretty much everyone in different situations. So with your child using substances, naturally you may feel some more negative sides to these emotions. So some things like anger and shame, guilt, betrayal, confusion are all things that generally come normally to parents with children using. But the big thing that you want to remember is awareness of these emotions and the situations that lead to these emotions gives you a choice in how to react moving forward. It allows you the opportunity to decide what's going to be more effective to make the changes that you want to see for the benefit of not only your entire family, but for your child. And that could be something as simple as letting the negative emotion pass. So giving yourself that opportunity of a timeout to just say, I can't handle this right now. I'm going to step away till I'm more level-headed. And you love your child. That's why you're here with this series. You want to help them as best you can. So learning how your emotions affect you is one way to really help you. So the way you react on your emotions can have a big impact on not only your family, but your relationship with your child. So if you're reacting on these negative emotions, it can be very counterproductive and ineffective towards the goals that you want to see for your child. You know, it could leave you feeling worse, saying that you maybe said something that you regret, but you said it out of anger and you didn't really mean it. Your child may try to divert your attention away from, their use by saying, if you weren't doing this, it's all your fault, mom and dad, to kind of distract you from what they're doing. And, having the negative, confrontations in different situations within your house, your child may not be able to handle the stress very well and may feel that the negative emotions are too much, and may turn and use substances more to help cope with those feelings that they're having. And the more you confront your child on their use, the more that they are going to resist what you're saying and become more defensive on their use, as well as, your relationship and your positive influence deteriorates the more you confront and react on these negative emotions. So how to manage so that this doesn't become an issue is to, one, as Shannon said, take care of yourself. As difficult as it is, taking those few moments for yourself every single day is really going to help you keep your resilience up and your motivation to keep trying to make the changes that you want to see. Another big thing is to really try and anticipate your negative emotions by learning how you react in situations and what situations set off what emotions. You are better able to label those feelings and figure out how you react once that feeling comes to play. And the more you do that, the more you're able to create distance between yourself and that emotion, to know that, okay, if I talk to my child when I'm really angry, it's going to lead to a fight, and I may say something I regret. So instead of going down that road, I'm going to step back, take a breather before I try and have this conversation. So as we said in the beginning, there's benefits to managing your emotions and taking care of yourself. Remaining calm and non-confrontational is going to definitely open up the door for you and your child to have open communication. And you're really going to be able to connect and get a better sense of what they're dealing with on their side of the substance use. You know, and they're more likely to hear when you're having those conversations what you think about their behavior, and may be more willing to listen to the healthier ways, you know, you suggest to behave so that they don't face some of the consequences you don't want to see. And as a parent, you're modeling behavior for your child as they're growing up. So they're learning how you react in certain situations and applying those same things to situations that come up in their life. So modeling how to manage your emotions when things become stressful is going to be a really good impact. It's going to make a really good impact on your child for their future. So in the Parents 20-Minute Guide on page 39, there is a Manage Your Emotions worksheet. So this will allow you to identify different situations that creates those heightened emotions that can maybe lead to some more tense times in your homes. So in this example, on the right hand or the left hand column, the situation is he ignores me and takes a snotty tone with me when I ask how his day was. So on the right side would be using your coping skill. How do you manage that emotion until you can talk about it in a non-confrontational way? So it would be, for this person, is I'll go to my room and I'll relax and I'll tell myself I can talk to him more effectively tomorrow when I'm calmer. So we're going to open it up again to any questions. Feel free to add them into the Q&A box, and I'll moderate that while Shannon takes over the next part.
So another important part of self-care is remembering that you're not alone during this process. And you may feel like no one can really understand what you're going through. And part of that is true because your path is unique. There are things that happen with your family that are unique to your family. But there are millions of people all over the world who have had some similar situations to you. So knowing that and reaching out and getting social support helps. Even talking to people sometimes about your situation can help you feel better and increase your resilience as a parent. There's lots of reasons why parents might isolate. Some of the common ones that come up with adolescent substance use are concerns about your family's privacy or how the public perceives you and your child and your family, and also worry about gossip and embarrassment. And a lot of the times you're not consciously choosing to withdraw socially. You may just be focusing a lot of your time and energy on your child and your family naturally because things are going on, and because you're turning that inward and focusing on them. Sometimes you lose connection with some people in your social network. So also, parents could be not in the habit of asking for help. Maybe it's something that they really haven't had to experience throughout their life up until this point, and sometimes people are just against asking for help. So all these things can lead to isolation. So support matters because isolation takes a toll on you, and it can definitely cause stress or increase stress, or if you have depression or anxiety, it could exacerbate that. And it really drains you of energy and resiliency. And we talked about how important those things are as a parent to have those. And when your energy and resiliency start to drain, then it's difficult to handle those hard emotional situations that you may be in. And social support really does the opposite of what isolation does. So it improves your ability to cope with those stressful situations you're encountering, builds up your energy and resiliency instead of depleting it, and then it makes you more able to take those emotional hits that might come your way and bounce back from those. So it's important to find support so that you're not isolating, And remember that support has different faces, or depending on your needs at that time, you may want to go to a different person for support. So if you need good advice at some point, there's probably a person in your life that you could think of that would give you that good advice. Or maybe you need someone to kind of serve in that cheerleader role to encourage you in something that you're trying to do. Or sometimes you just need someone to listen and maybe, you know, listen while you cry about what's going on. And you really want to individualize the type of social interaction you have. So if you're a person that likes to have phone calls, you could do that, or you could meet in person if you prefer that. And it's also important to remember that you can get counseling as a parent. A lot of parents tend to think that if their child's not interested or willing to be a part of counseling, that they can't, that as a parent you can't participate, but you can always get counseling for yourself regardless of whether your child will participate or not. So looking into different options is important for that. So employee assistance programs always, if you have one at work, are helpful. Or you could look, or you could call your insurance company and see who's in network, and they can give you some options. And then also support groups. Some people like them and some people don't, but if you're a person that likes them, looking into some different options in your area. I included one in the Pittsburgh area called Bridge to Hope, which is for family members when they have someone in the family using a substance. So if you need some direction to go in for a support group, that's a good one that I know of. The worksheet and the 20-minute guide called You're Not Alone encourages you to think about those different categories that you need different people to fill as far as your support. So there's a few different ones there on the screen. And keep in mind, you may have someone that can fill multiple roles for you, and that's okay. Or you may have a different person for each one of these needs. And then once you fill that out, you can look at the people on that list and decide what you need in that week or in the near future, and figure out who that person is that you want the support from, and then what kind of activity or connection you want to make with them. And the more specific you are on this, usually the better able you are to carry out that plan to connect with someone socially. And you also want to think about obstacles. We've talked about that a few times now, about preparing for obstacles. So you want to do that with this as well. So anything that might interfere with connecting socially. With this example, the friend might not be available for you to talk to. So then you want to also think about some strategies for overcoming the obstacles, like having a backup plan if the friend's not available, or maybe calling or texting the friend ahead of time to see if they're available for you to talk. So I want you to enter any questions that you have, and I'm going to take a look at the Q&A box again as Callan takes over the next part.
So it's very common to feel shame when it comes to raising a child using substances. Shame is a very complicated emotion that is typically confused with guilt, but with shame specifically, it is an inward focus. So it's the feeling that you have done something wrong. You're looking at your own thoughts, your own actions, and rethinking the decisions that you've made, not only for your child, but maybe for your whole family in general. So some things as a parent that you probably have heard is, if I and my husband had only been more of this or less of that, we should have never allowed her to go out with those friends. You know, how come, or how could we let them put those that doctor put her on those medications? You know, why didn't we say something to them when we first thought they were using? So there's 3 ways of expressing shame. And as Shannon just shared, that isolation is a big one for a lot of parents, is pulling away from your supports, looking at your own family, and almost have that feeling that everyone else has their life together. Another one is seeking perfection. It's dedicating a lot of time to making sure that your family's outward appearance is very good, so no one says anything to go against what's really going on. And this takes a lot of energy and time away from taking care of yourself to be a more effective helper to your child, because there is no perfect parent, there is no perfect child. Everyone has their moments. And externalizing blame. So sometimes it's extremely difficult as people to look at ourselves and see our faults. So it's easier to sometimes blame the people that are around. If my child wasn't friends with those kids, she would have never went down this path. If we didn't let him go to that party, he would never have been shown these things. So we have a video here that we are going to show you from Brene Brown. She is a leading expert in the research on shame. In this video, she kind of helps illustrate the difference between guilt and shame and where the difference is, not only for you as a parent, but as people in general.
Is we have a visceral response to the word. And shame is not a, let's study this and talk about those people who have it. Like, you have it, I have it, and no one wants to talk about it.
So define it. Is it what we all think shame is?
It's, by definition, I think what emerged from the data for me is it's the deeply painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and somehow unworthy of connection, love, and belonging.
And everybody experiences this.
Everybody, it's a universal emotion.
Is it different from guilt?
Very different from guilt. So shame is really a focus on self, while guilt seems to be a focus on behavior. So shame, I am bad. Guilt, I did something bad. So just an example. I'm your teacher and I give you your test back and you get a 47 out of 100. Shame self-talk would be, God, I'm so stupid, I'm an idiot. Guilt self-talk would be, God, it was really stupid not to study for that. Man, not a good idea to go out last night. When we can focus on behavior, we are much more likely to respond with empathy and actually change. But it's like, one of the questions I get from parents all the time is like, my kid lied to me. And so I looked at my kid and I said, you're a liar. And that's very shaming, right? You're a liar, not you told a lie and that's unacceptable and here are the consequences for telling a lie. When we call ourselves or other people liars or losers or, stupid, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Where do you go from there? As opposed to, look, you're a great kid, but you lied and that's completely not okay. And here are the consequences for lying. And if it happens again, here are the consequences. So when we are able to separate a focus on self and a focus on behavior, we're much more likely to be able to change the behavior. If we catch one of our kids saying, God, I'm so stupid when they're doing their homework, no. You can say, God, I'm confused, I'm lost, I don't know what's happening, but I'm stupid is not gonna work. We just don't talk to each other or ourselves like that in this house.
So hopefully that helped kind of clear up the differences between shame and guilt. So in order to combat those feelings, It's to have more self-compassion for yourself, which can be definitely difficult when you're feeling these emotions. So there's 3 parts in doing this. So the first is to have self-compassion instead of being as judgmental towards yourself. And it's okay to, be gentle and caring towards yourself in times of stress. That's going to help keep that motivation, as opposed to using statements like, I should have done this better. Why did I do it this way? Instead of saying, well, let's try something different next time. Another is common humanity. So common humanity allows for the idea that all people make mistakes, suffer, and have hardships. So instead of isolating and cutting yourself off from the world, kind of reminding yourself that, okay, just because it doesn't seem like everyone else is having as many issues as I am, it doesn't mean that they're having issues at all. Because sometimes you just don't see when someone's having a hard time. And the third being mindfulness over identification. So instead of staying stuck in those emotions of anger and guilt and shame and betrayal and confusion, being mindful that you're having these thoughts and emotions and being able to find a clear balance in how to handle these situations, but not let yourself be overrun by these emotions. So in the Parents 20-Minute Guide on page 51, there's a worksheet section where you can fill in kindness statements. These are statements that allow you the opportunity to take care of yourself in different ways instead of keeping your focus solely on your child, because that leads to burnout. So allowing these kindnesses can really help keep you in that positive motivational stage to make positive influence in your children's lives. So the first is awareness and allowing. So some statements like this could be, sitting with your spouse each week and figuring out, if certain things happen, how you're going to handle them, how you're going to support each other, and your different views on maybe how to handle what's going to happen. And the second one is maybe allowing yourself to do 1 or 2 things a week, just purely for yourself. So in the second example, it says, I stop my car to literally smell the roses at the park each day. Just something little like that can kind of give you that boost of motivation to stay positive. Another one is calming. So some people find, exercise, taking a morning walk, finding just time that they can breathe on their own before they start their day or in the middle of their day, as something to really help with those heightened emotions that come with parenting. Or starting something new, like meditating and giving yourself time to really listen to your own thoughts and really get a better understanding of yourself as a person. Third would be setting limits, allowing yourself to figure out where your boundaries lie. Like, this is too much for me, I can't handle anymore. So, something happens at Christmas, there's a lot of family drama. So you make that limit of, once I've had enough, I'm going to leave early, despite the party not being over yet. Or, that when your son or daughter is high, that always leads to high tension. So setting that limit of, we don't talk to him while he's high. And when he's sober, yes, we'll have that conversation we want to have. And fun. I know that's a difficult thing as a parent, and times are stressful with your children potentially using, but giving yourself that opportunity to go out and enjoy yourself, be it with your family, with your friends, with your spouse. You're still a parent. You're still a parent, but you're also a person. So you need to have those moments where you can just enjoy yourself. And a good thing with that is you can designate once a month, going out with your friends, doing something that you really enjoy, or picking an evening once a week where you do something you enjoy, like escaping to the movies and maybe treating yourself to something that you don't normally have, a box of candy, popcorn with butter, maybe a soda, all of those things are definitely going to keep you more positive. As well as we talked about already is connection, is making sure that you're staying connected with people in your life that are going to support you and help you through this. So one way to look at self-care is you can't pour from an empty cup. So the ways to fill your cup are to find the self-care activities that fit you as an individual. You know, these are really going to keep you on the path to being more positive and more motivated, and you won't experience the burnout. Recognizing your emotions and working on managing them. You know, the more you are aware of how you react, the more you're going to be able to change those ways and increase the connection that you have with your families. And avoid isolation by seeking out support. We cannot emphasize this enough, that supports are really going to help get you through this. And always practice being kind to yourself, because this is not going to be an easy path. You know, there may be great days, there may be bad days, but the more that you allow yourself to be kind and recognize that this is going to be hard, and, you know, we're not always going to get it right, but you're going to keep trying despite those moments where things go wrong. And that's what's going to lead to change down the line. So we want to thank you so much for coming to part 2 of the Parents Guide. We really hope that you were able to learn some things and apply the self-care to yourselves that you would like. And we'd like to thank Children's Community Pediatrics as well for helping us get the word out to more parents, as well as partnering with us for this. Our next session is going to be helping with words on Friday, August 7th at 12. Now we're going to open it up to any final questions.
Thank you, Callan and Shannon. You both did an excellent job presenting this information. While they were presenting, there were a lot of good questions that came across the Q&A, and Callan and Shannon did an excellent job. But for those that may not be able to see the Q&A, whether they called in, I just thought maybe we would just review those together. And hopefully, if you have any other questions, please feel free to go ahead and continue to add those as we talk. So the first question came from, is there a way to communicate your self-care choices to your child if they interpreted you as stepping away, as not caring? And I think that that's an excellent question, because myself being a parent of an adolescent, walking away from your child to take care of yourself could, teens could definitely perceive that as you kind of throwing your hands up in the air and just giving up and being very frustrated with them. So Shannon answered that by just being honest, letting them know that I am going to step away. I'm feeling frustrated. I want to talk to you, but right now I'm not able to talk effectively. I'm going to take a break and I'm going to calm myself down, or I'm going to take care of myself. And then I'd like to talk to you about this either in an hour, or I'd like to talk tomorrow. So I think that just being honest, I think Shannon really hit the nail on the head, is that just don't walk away in frustration, but say those words. I'm frustrated. I need a break. I don't want to say anything that I regret. Models really good communication skills and behaviors for your child. We also had somebody ask about the slides. We are happy to share those slides with anyone. We are going to be doing recordings and posting them and making them available to you. You have our website or our email at wpatips@chp.edu. That's what you registered at. And so if you want a copy of those slides, or you have any questions, we'd be happy to communicate with you through that email. The next question had to do with the impulse to fix all the time, and that is something that we talked about during our first presentation and helping with understanding. So Shannon did talk about how difficult that is, and how it's really important to validate your child's feelings, asking open-ended questions. And luckily the next presentation is about helping with words, and so we're going to spend the full hour about how to really resist our desire to solve or fix or give advice or lecture, and engage our adolescents in helpful communication regarding their substance use. So I don't see any other questions. I'm not sure if Shannon or Callan, are you seeing anything that I'm missing?
No, I just checked myself and I wasn't seeing anything.
Okay.
No, I don't see any new ones either.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank everybody for attending tonight, 6 o'clock on a Wednesday evening. We are trying to figure out what works best for our parents. We tried a Saturday. We're going to do 2 of these at 6 o'clock in the evening, and we're going to try one over lunch hour. So please feel free to give your feedback on what days and times work for you for potential future events. And if you do have concerns and feel like you need more support and you are a parent as CCP practice, we really encourage you to reach out to your CCP provider to talk to them about your concerns about your child. They are interested in your child, whether that's, medical questions about their physical health, their behavioral health, and also their substance use. So please don't be afraid to start a conversation with your child's pediatrician, and they can refer you as a parent to the Smart Choices program for individualized parent support, whether your child is open to some support at this time or not. So it is 6:50. We'll go ahead and conclude today's event. Again, we appreciate your participation. We thank CCP again for their dedication to adolescent health care and parents. And we look forward to hopefully having you join us on Friday, August 7th at 12 o'clock noon.